Welcome to Savage Rants. I'm Nick Savage. Let's talk about political accountability. Regular folk like you and I are not terribly good at keeping our politicians accountable for the decisions they make and the actions they take. While we do have elections, they really only guarantee we get to judge our representatives once every 4 or 5 years or so. Who can Joe and Jane Q Public count on to keep their government honest from day to day? Well, the press, actually. The fourth estate in this country, your newspaper and broadcast journalists, are supposed to investigate the issues and ask the questions of elected officials that you yourself would ask if you weren't too busy foaming milk at Starbucks or welcoming people to Walmart. In recent years, the press have found themselves in a bit of a snafu. The Harper government has taken numerous steps to weaken the press's ability to do its job, including, but not limited to, holding fewer press conferences than any democratically elected government in human progress, and requiring media handlers to sit with government scientists when being asked just about any question at all by a reporter. However, no government can truly avoid the press forever. So when this government's ministers and MPs do answer questions from the media, they use a simple trick to prevent you, the taxpayer, from understanding how or why your government spends its money. Simply put, they never give a straight answer when asked a question. Ever. Case in point, this is Roxanne James, Toronto MP and Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Public Safety. She is a talking point spouting, question dodging machine and is the poster child for misinforming the public. A few months ago, she appeared on CBC with Carole MacNeil to discuss the government's decision to appeal a court ruling giving former child soldier Omar Khadr bail while awaiting a retrial of his case. And the interview is a perfect example of exactly what I'm talking about. Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Just please!
Roxanne James is the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Public Safety, and she joins me now from Ottawa. Roxanne James, on what basis will you appeal the decision to grant Omar Khadr bail?
Well, as you know, we're very disappointed with the ruling that came out today. We firmly believe that someone who has committed such heinous acts, someone who has been charged with multiple offences and has pled guilty to those offences should actually serve their full time behind bars.
Fair enough. Except Carole didn't ask you why you wanted to appeal the decision. She asked you on what grounds you would make the appeal. Watch Carole double down. Politely. At first.
To appeal, you must have a legal reason that the judge erred in some way in her decision. What is the basis of that appeal?
Well, I'm not going to talk about the basis of the appeal today. Obviously, that will be done in due time.
Do you know what the basis is?
Oh, snap! Do you know what the basis is? To paraphrase the rapper Redman, that's right, y'all. She's more than rough. She's calling you bluff. However, rather than answer Carole, Roxanne's going to jump on the talking point steamroller and simply keep on rolling.
Do you know what the basis is?
But we need to be very clear again on what the charges were that this individual has pled guilty to. This is someone who was charged and pled guilty to murder, attempted murder, conspiring with Al-Qaeda, providing material support for terrorism, and spying on U.S. forces. So these are not light charges. These are extremely serious charges connected to terrorism. We also have to remember that on the other side of the coin, we have actual victims that are the result of this heinous act committed by Omar Ahmed Khadr.
Wait, you started with the individual and now it's Omar Ahmed Khadr? I watch the news and I'm familiar with the case of Mr. Khadr, but I thought he went by Omar Khadr. Are you trying to turn him into a Khalid Sheikh Mohammed or an Osama bin Laden? Is this about Muslims? No, Savage. It's too easy to presume that a conservative MP like Roxanne James is bigoted towards Muslims. Stick to the topic! Carole takes a third stab at having her question answered.
Okay, it is under appeal now, and that's why the judge actually granted bail. And I'm sure you're aware that you can't launch an appeal just because you don't like the decision. There must be something that you believe is inaccurate that the judge made, an accurate move that the judge made in court. So you said you don't want to talk about it today. Is that because you don't know the basis of the appeal yet?
As I said, I'm not going for one. As I said, I'm not going to talk about the basis of the appeal before.
Why, Roxanne? Why? Is that because you and your government have nothing? Why not just say that? Oh, right. The Conservative government is like the Goonies. They never say die.
But what I will say again is our government has been very clear on this, that there are the real victims of this particular crime. It certainly is not Omar Ahmed Khadr. It is obviously the deceased person in this incident, which is American Army medic Christopher Spear. Again, he's left behind a wife who is now a widow and 2 lovely children.
By repeating myself ad nauseum, our government has been very clear on this. There are the real victims, and then there is Omar Ahmed Khadr. He's a Muslim. Also, how do you know those kids are lovely? I mean, there's no reason to assume they aren't. But you've never met them, Roxanne, and I call bullshit. They could be awful. Also, that's the second time now she's called him Omar Ahmed Khadr, and I'm not the only one to have picked up on it.
Canada and the United States spend millions of dollars rehabilitating child soldiers in Sierra Leone. What is wrong with Omar Khadr? What is it this government, Mr. Harper, has against Omar Khadr? Is it the fact he's a Muslim?
Roxanne?
Well, that's completely outrageous, of course.
Outrageous, is it, Miss James, to think your government might be biased against Omar Ahmed Khadr. Excuse me, the individual in this case because he's a Muslim.
Well, that's completely outrageous, of course. As you know, this individual, he was over in this area.
He's an individual from where, Miss James?
In this area.
I didn't realize that Mr. Khadr and I had so much in common. I, too, am an individual from an area. Look, I'm not saying Miss James realized her and her government's bias against Muslims was unveiled, to use a terrible pun, by Carole, but here is how Roxanne referred to Khadr for the rest of the interview.
This is an individual who, this is an individual that is, and this individual now, safety, we're dealing with an individual that this individual should not, that this individual should serious charges, this individual should believe that this individual should remain behind.
Wait a minute, play that last one back again.
Believe that this individual should remain behind.
Well, it just goes to show you, kids, that when it comes to memorizing talking points given to you by your political masters, you should take the time to understand the words you are saying. Otherwise, you may screw them up during pressured repetition. Anyway, Carole's thrown your possible bigotry at you, and so maybe now, Miss James, having been thoroughly embarrassed, you'll give a straight answer regarding your legal grounds to appeal bail.
By the fact the government will launch an appeal, but you don't know what you're going to appeal yet, on what basis yet, which is interesting. Judge
Actually,
Ross,
what I said is I will not discuss that appeal at this time.
Why not discuss it?
Because fuck you, Carole. That's why. I'm Roxanne James, and I will have my cake and eat it too. Just because I won't tell you the basis for our appeal doesn't mean I don't know what it is or that our government doesn't have one. I don't owe you an answer, and I certainly don't know Canadians one either.
Judge
Actually,
Ross,
what I said is I will not discuss that appeal at this time.
Why not discuss it?
As I said, I'm not going to discuss the appeal at this time. It is not appropriate to do at this particular time. But again, our government has been extremely clear on this particular case.
Carole, she's not saying it would be inappropriate for legal reasons to answer your question. She's saying it would be inappropriate as a member of the Harper government to give any clear information on any subject, particularly to some CBC hack. Bless your heart though, Carole. You're going to take what is, by my count, the 5th time trying to get an answer to your original question out of what is turning into the journalism version of Moby Dick.
To them.
But those
this is
are
an
not
individual
for an
that
appeal.
has taken the lives of another individual. He has blinded another person, and he has left a horrific path of pain and suffering for the family of Christopher Spear.
I understand what you've been saying, and you've said it multiple times. But I just don't understand why you can't explain to me and to Canadians right now why you believe that you have the basis for an appeal and what that appeal basis is.
Okay, Roxanne, you've just been called out on national television for talking points verbal diarrhea. Now, will you finally, as an officer of Parliament and a ward of our democracy, answer Carole's question?
Well, certainly that will be released shortly. I'm not in the position to discuss that with you right now. But again, I think that our government has been very clear in this matter.
So that's a no. You're not going to answer this question, even though Carole has explained to you that you can. Roxanne goes on to repeat the same talking point. Khadr pled guilty to committing these crimes and for that reason should not get bail. To which Carole, again, points out.
Again, those aren't actually legal bases. Those aren't technically legal basis for an appeal. Judge June Ross, in her decision, says he met all of the requirements for bail. One, that there's no issue of public safety, and two, the appeal he is launching in the United States is not frivolous. What's your reaction to what she had to say?
Well,
So Carole's baiting Roxanne here, giving her the case against appealing the bail in hopes she will react and actually tell her, and us, the people she works for, something of substance. Will it work?
Had to say.
Well, when we talk about public safety, we're dealing with an individual who has accepted and pled guilty to serious charges involving terrorism. We're very disappointed with this decision that was made today, and again, that's why we're going to appeal it.
Ah! We know you feel that way! Since Roxanne will give an actual legal reason for appealing the decision besides we think the court that granted him bail are assholes, it begs a simple question that Carole poses with, perhaps, a little love lost between them.
What about judicial due process? Do you support that?
Roxanne James, does your government support the centuries-old tradition of common law and jurisprudence? Also, if looks could kill, can we get a still shot up of Carole's face? She really does not like Roxanne James. And after this interview, honestly, who can blame her? Naturally, Miss James gives her and Canadians coast to coast to coast this middle finger of an answer.
What about judicial due process? Do you support that?
Well, the judicial system is responsible for reviewing the evidence. That is why our government is obviously appealing the decision. It is our right, and we've made that decision to go forward with that appeal.
Let me translate. The court must make its decisions based on facts, while our government has shown, time and time again, to be above trivialities such as evidence when making decisions. And for that reason, we will be proceeding with this appeal. Next time you don't think the press is hard enough on Canadian politicians, remember what they have to work with. For Savage Rants, I'm Nick Savage. Thanks for watching.